I'm Nathan, and this is my presentation on location and xenophobia. For the introduction, I'm from a small county called Huron County, and inside that county, there's a town called Goderich, which is my hometown. It's very small, it's not very diverse. There's about 8,000 people there. A lot of the families have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And based on my location, this creates a knowledge of cultures. So since our area is not diverse, there's not a lot of knowledge of cultures. And this lack of knowledge actually creates a xenophobia. But what this presentation is going to talk about is, in reality, our similarities are greater than our differences, but a lot of people don't understand this. So to begin, news stories. A lot of news stories are very negative, and they portray people in a negative manner, such as terrorist attacks and abductions and murders and so forth. And a lot of this is aimed towards different cultures and immigrating people. And a lot of these news stories is what the only knowledge that people have. So when people are from a small town, we don't really get to experience different cultures. And so the only time we're able to experience different cultures is when we go on the news and watch the news. And this creates a single story, which we talked about earlier in our course. And this single story is usually negative, and a lot of people won't change their negative mindset until something else appears, which is very uncommon in the news. And so Talbot, who's a professor, writes, "The media most strongly affects young people, especially social media, and those with very little education, especially those who are isolated from centers of learning or from those who might personally interact with them on different issues." So what she's saying there is social media and other aspects, if you don't have a huge knowledge and you're very uneducated, you view these stories as the only true stories. And new ideas. A lot of new ideas are intimidating to people. When you find something new, you usually don't want to accept it straight away. You think about what the problems are with possibly this new idea. And we see this in natives and Europeans. So when the Europeans came to settle Canada and North America, like US and Mexico, a lot of the Europeans came and they looked at the natives and they thought some of their ways were satanic. So a lot of the rituals, including the sun dance, where the natives would strap themselves to a hook and dance around to show like respect to nature. A lot of Europeans thought this was satanic and would actually in some cases kill the natives because of their practices. And it was never hugs and kisses. When you see someone on the street, you usually avoid making eye contact just because you're worried that this person might do something. You never really go over and smile, you avoid eye contact. And this could be an evolutionary problem, because if our ideas are working, then why change them? So why accept new people into our colonies and families if we don't really know them? And cities are usually more open to more people and new people because cities have new people. And like I said, in Goderich, if a new family moves in 5 years ago, that family is still considered the new family, where in cities a lot of people don't even interact with each other more than once. And this brings us to our similarities and differences. We perceive our homes as normal. So in Goderich, there's basically 99% white. We're all Canadians or second-gen Europeans. And we perceive this as normal, rather than in a city where people always meet new cultures and new people. And our physical features may be different. So we focus on the physical things first. When you look at somebody, you see maybe their skin color is different, maybe what they're wearing is different than you. And this isn't necessarily correct, because we have a lot more similarities and differences. We all want to be nice people. We all want to do the right thing. We all have families. We all go to school and get an education. We all have friends. We all have parents. And furthermore, our society is different but in the same reality. So each society, maybe Western, Eastern, they all have their differences, but they're very similar, where people work for a government, people have jobs, people support each other. And then we can see this in the golden rule. So cultures have basically a golden rule here, where they say, well, in plain aspect, is treat others how you want to be treated. And almost all world religions have this idea. And until we become cultured, we are only able to focus on the differences of others. So because of these news stories, we view Muslims maybe as terrorists and Asians as bad drivers, and we see these stereotypes that are presented to us. And this is also, like, we can't break this cycle because of our birthplace. So if we're born in Goderich, which is very small, we don't get to meet these cultures and break this idea. And our communication with others relieves our radical phobia. So when you go to Toronto, And if you diversify yourself in Canada, you'll see that these cultures are very similar, and these stereotypes are almost never true. And humans pick up on patterns. So in the news, we see these patterns where Muslims are terrorists, women are bad drivers, all these ideas, and until we discard and actually view these ideas as improper by communicating with, maybe having a Muslim friend, or looking into the real stats, these ideas are not discarded, and we need to discard these ideas because they're obviously racial and improper. And there's references, and that concludes my presentation.